I was appalled, and I was amazed, and I was enthralled, and I was a variety of different adjectives. What was this book? I am not even going to talk about the painting scene, if you know what I mean. Don't know what I hate more. Is it Tampon or is it Rice Boy? I'm gonna be totally honest, Rice Boy, aka Rhysand, does remind me too much of the frat guys that I go to school with. I think Nesta might be my favorite character ever. If you don't know me, I'm Grace. I am a content creator. I make book videos, lifestyle content, reviews of ACOTAR. I slowly lose my brain cells. We have a lot of different things that we talk about here. And some of it looks like this, some of it looks like that. A lot of different options depending on the day. And today once again, we're going back to ACOTAR. Court of Mist and Fury Day, a long-awaited day for those of us who love me losing my mind, which is admittedly quite often. I'm not saying that it's my favorite series, but you can't lie, it's hard to stay away. Like, all the TikToks and interview clips are enough by themselves, but I just had to find out for myself. If you missed video 1, go back and watch that. I will link it down below. But this is book 2. I'm on theme. This is my little A Court of Mist and Fury outfit. Alright, so my microphone died, and now we're back with a different one. But it's okay. We're back and we're better than ever. So, here's my character index for what I'll be calling each character, because in my world, no one gets their original name. We all give them kind of like a spicy, funky name. Feyre is Fairy. Rhysand, Rice Boy. Tamlin, Tampon. Nesta is, I think Fester was the name that I invented, but they all have their own little quirky names, and I'm sure that they'll get more diluted as time goes on and the book series continues, because now that I've started this pattern of reading all of the books as like fast as possible to prepare for October, it's an undertaking, because then there's Throne of Glass, and then there's Crescent City, and it's so many. 3 main points of what I wanted to discuss is the overarching controversy of, is the book romanticizing a boise? Is Tamlin layered? Is he nuanced? I have some opinions about that might be controversial. I also wanted to talk about the literary aspect, so second book syndrome, the fact that a lot of sequels do not hold up to the first book, and as the books go on, the crazier that it gets, much like Riverdale. That is the classic analogy. And the third thing that I wanted to bring up is my age-old problem with a lot of fantasy novel female characters. It's kind of a problem. Does A Court of Mist and Fury romanticize toxic and abusive relationships? It's a loaded question with a lot of opinions. Some people say that it does, and that it sets an unhealthy standard for girls. I do understand where this is coming from, because I did read the book. I think that something interesting about being like a book content creator is a lot of times before I even read a book, I've already heard 50 opinions about it. I've seen op-eds from every kind of angle, different nuances, different filters, and too many books approach it where I can almost see the author thinking, okay, this is about a toxic relationship, so I need to talk about this like a therapist would, so I can send the right message. And yes, knowing clinical terms and processes and psychology is helpful, but it also isn't very human, because when you're actually in a relationship like that, it looks very different than if you're diagnosing something or you're prescribing something. It's not as clinical. And we're experiencing the story through Feyre. So we're experiencing through what she thinks of the situation. and how she's dealing with Tamlin in book 2. And for those who maybe need a little refresher, Tamlin uses her and keeps her imprisoned in the house. So he's restraining her. He is violent as well. He has aggressive tendencies, and he ends up almost harming her, but she puts up a magical shield that protects herself. And Feyre is not used to this. She's still very new in this world, so she has a lot to learn. She's very overwhelmed, confused about who to trust. And since she knows Tamlin, she does stay with him longer because he's all that she really knows, and she's not quite sure about how much she should trust Rhysand, whatever the frick his name is, Rice Boy. But eventually she does leave, and she goes to stay with Rice Boy. And that's where the magic happens, if you know what I mean. Does it romanticize it? I don't think so. And I know. I can feel the comments just like oozing from up there. I'm aware. If we make every book with a toxic relationship, like I just read, actually this book right here, called What It's Like in Words by Eliza Moss. That book goes into not graphic in terms of like disturbing, but graphic in terms of like extremely examinatory detail of every single stage of a toxic relationship and exactly what everything looks like and how it feels and what it means from a very human perspective, like analyzing every single thought. We have plenty of examples of media where the guy is toxic and she ends up with him. As far as I know, and I'm only on book 2, she does not end up with Tampon, from what I understand. So already progress. Apparently everyone's pretty happy with the guy that she's with. From the Sarah J. Maas interview that she did on Call Her Daddy, we know that she meant for Tamlin to be layered, like every character should be to a certain degree. And we understand Tamlin's upbringing and that he was also raised in a very toxic environment and was also never given the tools. But things are objectively right and wrong. Toxic relationship and aggressive violent behavior, that's obviously wrong. That's not okay to do. You should obviously leave. That is obvious. That's pretty objective. A quote from the 2015 Cinderella movie, which is one of my all-time favorite films, probably ever. There is a part where, as you know, Cinderella is abused by her stepmother and stepsister. She's made to do all the housework. Goes to see the prince. She meets the prince in the woods, and he says, do they treat you well? And she says, they treat me as well as they are able. Because a lot of these stories, when they're trying to teach a lesson or send a message, they lose the human aspect that is, they are both people. The action can be wrong, but why? Objectively, it is wrong, but what's the layer? What's the nuance? What's the backstory? Tamlin has a backstory. He doesn't have the system to sustain a relationship. He's not capable, really, of being a good relationship partner. It adds a certain layer of humanity that I think a lot of these fantasy novels and overly didactic books and movies that are trying to send a message, they just completely leave out. And to me, it makes it very boring because a lot of the best stories that, teach you that you shouldn't be in toxic relationships really go into the humanity of both people. And I think that one of the other moments that really stuck with me was when Feyre was talking to Rice Boy. She was talking about how she did really love him and they were going to get married and all that. And she does feel like a very deep and true love for him. Rice Boy points out that it's not that Tamlin didn't love her, it's that he didn't know how. He knew that he did. He knew that he did love her, but Rice Boy makes a good point, which is too much love can be bad. Too much love in the wrong way can be a poison. Again, it loses this human aspect when you lose the dialogue of why. Moving on to my next point of Rice Boy, this is a debated issue. Is he actually better than Tamlin? Is Rhysand better than Tamlin? In the beginning, I hated him with a passion, and I kind of still do, because I think he reminds me too much of the frat guys that I go to school with, to be fully honest. he's not really giving me a lot to work with. He kind of just reminds me of like the Edward Cullen prose from the first Twilight book, where it's like, he's like a Greek god and he's so attractive and he is just perfect and I'm just this small little being that could never deserve him. Like, it's very underwhelming for me. And they weren't like conversing enough. Like I felt like I was losing some brain cells. There was a lot of plot and I was starting to lose track of stuff. Also, did not feel like the side characters got enough page time, talking time, screen time, because Cassian, hello, hilarious. A lot of these characters are very funny, and I'm like, I want them fleshed out. I do not need a 13th hunting trip story, or we went and saw so and so, and then I got in trouble, and then Rice Boy had to save me, and blah, blah, blah. I don't need to know. I don't need to know that. Don't care. Get back. Communicate with your boo. Don't care. I grew up on stuff like Cube Velocities and Twilight, where these like supernatural paranormal bonds are quite a big deal. Psychological bonds are a big deal. And to me, I loved it because it didn't feel like a romantic thing. I interpreted their bond as sort of like a best friend, because I love it when romance books expect a best friend layer to be involved, because it means that I have more to enjoy in terms of their connection and chemistry. And I loved it that we got to kind of experience a bit more friendship than necessarily just tension and chemistry and will they, won't they. Like, I really liked it. Another thing that I loved about the book was Feyre's powers. Like, she has the combined powers of 7 of the High Fae Lords. Like, that is freaking cool. I love it so much. And I want to be Feyre for Halloween. Like, I think she is the dream fantasy novel character, because she is very human. She makes, choices based on what she knows at the time. She's not perfect. And I feel like some characters, there's so much pressure now to write like the perfect female character that represents women. And Sarah J. Maas just created a person, and she just exists. And Feyre just exists. And she doesn't exist to be the perfect representation of what a female character should be in a fantasy novel, but she does end up being cut above a lot of other female characters that I've read about. She knows that she could beat Tampon in a fight. Like, she knows all this, and she works to outsmart people, and she doesn't take sass from anybody. Even after she and Rhysand get together, she will still call him out on stuff, and I love that. I don't like it where it's like enemies to lovers and then she loses her personality. Like, I like it that she keeps that spark. I have experienced this world now where I'm like, where is this? Where can I find more? I think the book ran on a bit long, sure. I think it could have been cut down about 50 pages, but I'm also not complaining because the world building is so detailed and unique that it's like, yeah, I do want to spend more time in here, obviously. Feyre is the female character that we all have been looking for from a lot of like Rebecca Yarros books and, Colleen Hoover's reminders of him. Kenna is very layered, and like just these new characters that are coming out and these new writers where they grew up with a lot of one-dimensional characters and now they're writing what they wanted to see. It's a little missing puzzle piece that we finally found and put back in the picture of media, and now everything makes a little bit more sense. This is the end of the video. Stay tuned for the third one, where I suffer through more of Rhysand's cringy quotes, because he does have quite a lot of them. Make sure to subscribe and follow so you can catch the next video. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. I'm Grace, and have a great day.